For round 7 of the FIA Formula 3000 International Championship, bright and very slightly overcast with a brisk westerly wind, making ready for a great day's racing. I'm Carlton Kirby, alongside me is Jamie Davis, and it's the start of the second half of this 12-race season, and perhaps time running out for those hoping to pose a challenge to the leading trio this year. We're already on the grid and ready for the off here. 3 drivers share all 6 victories so far, with 2 wins apiece. The championship leader is Justin Wilson, and the table he's just ahead of Nordic Racing teammate and today's pole sitter Tomáš Enge, and the nearest man to Enge. And today's front row is the Australian Mark Webber, as we just look elsewhere down the lane. Yes, qualifying not perhaps the tightest of battles, and the reason for that, Tomáš Enge went for it early, laid down a time that was simply unbeatable. Well, the only driver under 1 minute 28 seconds, and we'll have a look at the starting grid for you, and you'll see just how well placed he is. His time, unbeatable, and we hear that the reason for that was that the first 5 laps or so still had some tarmac left down on the racing line. Some rubber, fresh stuff from a Formula France race early on. That wore off, and then Enge was unbeatable. Jamie, Enge looking very comfortable here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's obviously in the perfect position now, I mean, for the beginning of this race, so all he needs to concentrate on now really is when those red lights go off, and try and get the best start he can, take the lead into the first corner, and then hopefully, you know, for Tomáš Enge's sake, he can be away.
Yeah, well, you saw there that Friesacher will be leading off row 2, and local knowledge coming into play there. He's just ahead of Wilson, the championship leader. Friesacher, well, he practically lived at this track for a couple of years when he was at the driving school here, and local knowledge, well, it counts for so much. We saw that at Imola, didn't we? For sure, yeah. I mean, you know, the local knowledge around this circuit, it's a reasonably difficult place to learn because it's quite undulated and has a lot of blind corners. So I think it's maybe difficult for people to arrive at the circuit the first time. So, you know, obviously that knowledge is giving him a big advantage, and he's able to use that and manage to get back up on the third on the grid. Yeah, a great result as well for Red Bull. They've been looking with rather a lot of envy at others in front of them, and we are getting ourselves ready for the off here and expecting some great racing. It is a difficult track to overtake on. Justin Wilson is the king of the overtaking manoeuvres, though. The Adelaide hairpin, which we'll show you a little later on, is one of those to look out for. And as the revs rise and they take off for the formation lap, great conditions here. It is a very, very slippy surface, however, is it not?
It's a very strange surface, actually. I mean, it's a lot different to most of the circuits that they visit during the season. Maybe a little bit similar to the A1 ring. It's a very low grip surface. But you know, the biggest problem with it is it's undulated. The actual surface is very smooth, but the circuit is undulated, and you know, it's just very difficult to find the right setup with the car.
And the long Estoril curve there, you have to watch out as you come off that. Villeneuve will tell you all about that. Had himself an accident at the exit midway down the long straight as we head all the way down to the Adelaide hairpin. This is the point where we're expecting some action.
Yeah, I mean, you can overtake into this corner. It's still going to be difficult, though. I mean, I think if the guy who's about to be overtaken uses his head and just guards the inside and then watches his position on the exit, then he's still possibly going to be able to hold station. But without a doubt, you know, as a driver's point of view, this is going to be one of the corners which, I mean, me personally, I would concentrate on making a move into that corner.
Well, up the Nürburgring straight, and then heading down to what's known as the 180, and then back up towards Chateau d'Eau. Now, that's a place that they're thinking of making some changes, but not for a couple of years.
It's, I think actually they're going to be putting maybe kind of like 2 hairpins into that corner or something, so I've heard. So, you know, it may actually open up another passing opportunity. You know, we'll have to wait and see what the actual final plans are for that, but it looks interesting.
And that's nice if they, for those in the grandstand at this part of the course, because they'll get a double chance to see a place where the changes could be made.
That's right. I mean, you know, that's exactly that's what it's about. You know, I mean, it's good for the spectators. It's going to make it more interesting racing, and you know, hopefully that will go ahead, and it will look good for the future.
So the little chicane down to Lycée, and then of course it's a sharp right as you head to the finish line. They're coming up then onto the start of this, and qualifying, I should say, yesterday. I'll just run down the grid for you. It'll be Enge and Webber on row 1, followed by Pratic, Friesacher and Justin Wilson. Then comes Mario Haberfeld, who's done well for Supernova, and David Saelens from the Junior European Minardi team. They will be the top 3 rows for you. So Magny Cours waiting for the off of this, the round 7 of 12, an extended season by 2 races, and we're waiting for those lights to come on. We don't know how long they're going to hold them, but we will keep you in touch as it happens. So then, Magny Cours awaits the next race. The lights are up, the revs rise, and Enge, will he get a decent runaway? They've gone out, we're off, and Enge, a little slide.
Like he had a good start.
But lovely stuff, just blocking perfectly. Webber having a look down there, so he's taken him. And it looks like Wilson's moved up as well.
Webber's there.
Wonderful, wonderful start from Webber, the Australian.
Somebody's off on the gravel here.
Oh dear, straight into it. And at the back,
oh
dear, and takes out number 12. It's Cochet, has gone. Upset for the French crowd. He was one of those who'd done so well, 10th in practice, leading off or on that 5th row. And what a start we've had here.
You see Enge, well, obviously he's not very happy about losing the lead on the start there. He's challenging already, coming up to the Adelaide corner, so we'll keep in touch, see what happens on that one.
Getting very twitchy indeed, having a look down the outside, trying to nip down the inside, but Webber has got the better of him. And closing the door beautifully. You can see the dust still hanging in the air. That's going to settle down and could well destabilise this surface.
It's going to be interesting to see how well Wilson performs. I mean, I think he missed the window in the qualifying, but in general lap times in the qualifying, he seemed to be on the pace with the rest of the guys. So he's sitting there in 3rd at the moment. He's in a perfect place to challenge. So we can hope that he can move forwards in the race.
Yeah, Friesacher, as we've said, a little bit of local knowledge. He certainly didn't throw too much of it down as far as the start was concerned, losing his place, but to Wilson and somebody basically who's expected to move through the field. Didn't have the best of qualifying runs yesterday, missed out on that early session, which had all the advantage, but now finds himself challenging here, and Webber, well, he's just got to stay focused, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, what Webber needs to do now, he needs to maybe not concentrate so much in the mirrors and just look at the road in front, just trying to put in a series of quick laps, really, qualifying laps to try and make a break. Looks like he's gone a bit too quick there now, though. He's run wide going through the
He certainly did.
Looks like he's managed to hold on to it, though, so I don't think Enge actually is close enough coming up to the Adelaide corner, so he looks safe at the moment.
Well, the great thing about this series is that it's so closely matched, but Wilson having a look down, trying to go past his teammate, and decides to back off, locking up the Red Bull.
I think it actually cost Enge time, actually, when Webber went wide. It looked like maybe that he closed in, caught him by surprise, had to back off, and that allowed Wilson to try and make a move to him at Adelaide.
Last thing you want to do is take your teammate out at this stage. It's happened a couple of times before this season, not thankfully with Nordic Coca-Cola. But the 1, 2, 3 for the time being, and a super start from Mark Webber, and he's fending them off beautifully. All these cars, of course, the same chassis and configurations. You can fiddle about with some of the triculation, but there's not much that they can change here, is there?
Not really, no. You know, I mean, sure, you know, there's still quite a lot of setup work that you have to do with these cars. I mean, they're one-make formula, but you know, there's still a lot you can do to make them fast or make them slow. You know, I mean. It's still a very, very fine balance between having a quick car and having a medium car, you know, a mediocre car. So, you know, these guys at the front, obviously, you know, they got the car working well, and you know, we'll just see how it progresses in the race. I mean, they could be possibly running slightly different setups, so maybe that Webber's quick early on, and maybe the Coca-Cola cars will be coming on a bit stronger later.
Well, it does allow the driving skills to shine through, and Webber's just chucked down a fastest lap. Confirmation of that for you. Yes, driving skills do shine through indeed, and perhaps Mario Haberfeld, teammate of Mark Webber, who's leading this race, bemoans that fact. He's slipped a place from the start. Haberfeld is currently in 6th place, having started 5th ahead of David Saelens. Difficult, really, to keep yourself motivated. Quick look at that start again. A great one from Enge, and indeed from Wilson as well.
Yeah, I mean, he had very slight wheel spin initially as the rear wheels touched the paint, and then obviously the grip and the great pull away.
And into the gravel and into the misery box. Lucky on the exit not to take anybody out with him. Just a quick nick, though.
His rear wheel.
Yeah.
That's not good, really. He should have just kept to the inside of that corner.
Yeah, some more misery as well for the Prost team. They've had so many sweeping changes so far this season. Baumgartner coming in, replacing Verano. Cochet's not had the best of runs either. And just more hassle straight away in front of their home crowd.
See, Webber's, he seems to be edging out a little bit now. His car's working quite well early on. He's pushing quite hard. He knows the score. The problem with this circuit, though, as well, I mean, if he can make a break, even if Enge is sat right under his wing, it is incredibly difficult to overtake. So, you know, he's got that in the back of his mind, but ideally he would like to just make a little bit of a gap, and then it makes it a nice, easy race for him.
So now everyone biding their time. I must apologise to Mr. Baumgartner, who's still racing. It was Cochet who was taken off in Prost Junior, number 12. No, Cochet's still racing. I have to get my numbers sorted out. Anyway, here we go, and it's Webber still leading, and he just keeps posting the fastest lap. He's just laid down another one on the third. He's just getting faster and faster. Clear road in front of him, and perhaps using that tarmac from the Formula One practice that's qualifying that's just happened in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, he was quite considerably faster on that lap as well. It was over half a second, so you know, that's good going at the moment. If he can keep that up, then he's going to be laughing by the end of the race.
Well, he's got 2 races. He knows what the victory podium feels like from the tallest step. But so do the 2 gentlemen who are pursuing it at the moment. Tomáš Enge brought in, along with a great deal of money to the Nordic Racing team by Coca-Cola, and ever since then they've been excelling. Yes, a brief repair job for Andrea Piccini with the distinctive yellow stripe on his European Minardi 3000 machine.
Looked like they were fitting a new nose under there. It's obviously made some contact on the early laps and just maybe tweaked the wing or something.
Just as they concertinaed. No official refueling stops during this race, as is the case all season. And a look at just how he did it.
There we go.
Yeah, did he just...
That was quite a big hit.
He didn't just do anything, did he? He quite simply went for a trip in the countryside.
See the marshal's running away there. Don't blame him.
Well, it looks like he didn't damage any of the wheels. At least that can be said for it. And the robust nature of these vehicles, they're to be seen.
He was quite lucky there, really. I mean, he hit the wall pretty square on, so I mean, it would have just done the actual nose and the front wing. Quite a simple change on there, and he'll be away again. Yeah,
he's come down and been lapped by our leader, so he apparently feels like in second place. So we'll be getting the cheers from those less initiated in the grandstands, but I presume going backwards. There he goes.
That's the biggest problem now. I mean, you know, already his race is finished. You know, he's going to be struggling to score any points from there now.
Let's just say it's finished for him, shall we? Yeah, so it is Mark Webber who is gunning now, and with a slower car behind him, which will be holding up the Coca-Cola Nordic Racing team. The duo of Tomáš Enge, who started on pole and looked to have got a very good jump, but not half as good, it seemed, as Mark Webber. Looking a little bit further down, Mario Haberfeld, as we were just saying, just not shining quite as he might. This is a series that allows drivers to shine through, as the mechanics are reasonably the same. Of course, not the men, the mechanicals, I should say. But poor old Haberfeld, you know, he does have something of a star, that he is constantly standing behind the brightness of Mark Webber, is he not?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously Mark Webber's, you know, he's a quick driver. He's jumped into the Supernova squad for this year. You know, they're renowned for having probably one of the best cars out on the circuit. So, you know, it's a golden opportunity this season for Mark to, you know, to capitalise on that and to push forwards. You know, he's a championship contender. So at the moment, it's looking very strong for him.
So around the Adelaide hairpin, and Justin Wilson concertinaing as he does the cars and looking for a good line, but just absolutely nothing on offer, and he's certainly not going to risk bumping his teammate. Yeah, it must be difficult, just going back to Haberfeld once again, it must be very difficult to maintain yourself and your focus indeed. He's been off 5 times this season, and you can put that down to luck if you like, but surely focus comes into that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the problem with, you know, you can make a mistake on the circuit. If you make a mistake, then normally you run a couple feet wide on an apex, but to actually go off into the wall, you know, I mean, it's a big drastic mistake. So I think Mario needs to concentrate maybe a little bit more on that side of it, and try and finish the races a bit more frequently.
Yes, and conveniently, we're just looking at Haberfeld, way down in the middle at the moment, not too far off the pace, but further than he'd like to be, currently running 6, and look at that. Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, when you're afraid of breaking the car, as he's done so often before, you can't just look and focus on racing, can you? You're trying to nurse the thing home.
It's a bit tricky going into that corner, actually. He's changing down probably the second gear there. The problem is that sometimes it allows the rear wheels to lock up, which I think's happened there. The car's got a little bit out of shape, and he's just chose to not turn into the corner because he's realised that it's possible that it will spin. So it's an easy escape there, going over the green painted tarmac. Nice and safe, but he lost position. Yeah,
Sébastien Bourdais of the Dams team, who you're familiar with, going through and bringing some cheer to the locals here. Very passionate supporters here, and as you can see, the grandstands are full, and it's part of the gift, if you like, of Formula 3000. They're supporting the European rounds of the Grand Prix circuit this year, and it really is a great deal of exposure, if perhaps the teams are rather busy focusing on themselves. Certainly in terms of the crowd, they know what Formula 3000 is all about, don't they?
That's right. It's definitely the place to be. The Formula 1 teams definitely take notice of the Formula 3000, what's happening there, and you just need to keep pushing. Oh, it's got somebody off here.
Oh dear, it's the 8 car, European Minardi, and it's Andrea Piccini.
Plenty of gravel on the circuit there.
Yes, he was the one that came in earlier after shunning the front wall, and perhaps the car just a little bit bent from previous. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but nonetheless, an awful lot of gravel on the circuit, and it can prove to be very difficult indeed to actually tidy this one up nicely. And as you can see, Webber's advantage now over Tomáš Enge. The slower traffic did get in the way, over 3 seconds.
That's great for Mark Webber. If he keeps going like that, then he's going to have a nice easy afternoon. And then that position at the moment, I mean, I'd be quite happy with that. So if I could just pull it out maybe to 5 or 6 seconds, then that would be really good. The biggest problem for Justin Wilson there back in third is he's got to think about the championship, but the other 2 guys who are in the championship with him are in front of him. So you know, he's going to have to start getting a move on really, and possibly try and put some pressure on Enge.
Well, Andrea Piccini strolling back to the workshops, where he presumably will have a little lecture. Don't know which way the words will be flying, but probably 50-50. Anyway, race order after 7 laps. It's Mark Webber leading Tomáš Enge and Justin Wilson. Friesacher is there, and Manning is coming back into the fray here ahead of Bourdais. And Darren Manning in the Arden Team Russia, he could do with a bit of good fortune, couldn't he? There, it certainly is not a case of driver error. The boy really can drive, and let's just hope that he can move up the order. Do stay with us. We'll be back after an extremely short break. No time even for a cup of tea. Welcome back to Magny Cours, confirmation of how they stand for the time being, and it's been a superb start here to this 7th round of the Formula 3000 International Championship for Mr. Mark Webber from Australia. 2 victories under his belt, and he looks like he's heading for the 3rd, provided nothing goes wrong, of course. Behind him, the chasing pair of Coca-Cola Nordic Racing men. It's Tomáš Enge, who started on pole, followed by Justin Wilson for now. Still in touch is Friesacher. Darren Manning is there, as well as Sébastien Bourdais and Mark Haberfeld. But it's hard to say it's already over, barring any errors, but that lead is absolutely superb.
At this stage of the race, that's great. I would be very happy with a 3.5 second lead, you know, at this stage. He just needs now to keep his head down, keep pushing, concentrate on not making any mistakes, try not to lock any wheels, just look after the rear tyres a little bit on the exit of the corners, try not to get too much wheel spin, and don't listen to too many gremlins on the car, because sometimes that can take concentration away if you think that you've got some kind of problem, which is normally imaginary. So he just needs to keep pushing, and hopefully it'll all run smooth then.
Well, we're just looking at Darren Manning, fending off the attentions of Sébastien Bourdais, one of the Frenchmen here, who's still challenging, and well and truly cheered by the local crowd. Difference between them there.
It
seems less than that now, but these guys, I mean, Darren Manning he really has excelled himself in a team that doesn't have the best of funding. I mean, of course, we're all thankful for any funding we can get, but it's not in the same league as the Coca-Cola boys, is it?
I'm not so sure. I don't know exactly what kind of funding they're getting, but you know, I don't think they're that short of a budget. You know, they're gradually working ahead on the car, getting the car better and better. So you know, some races they seem to shine better than other circuits which they go to. So it's just interesting keeping an eye on them and just keeping an eye on their progress. But they do have a reasonable engineer in the team as well. So I think that puts them in good stead for the future.
And you can see just how far Manning is behind Friesacher, just over a second and a half now. But Darren, he's finished second at Imola, and he had some great qualification runs leading up to this. And indeed, this time, finished himself on row 4. So they are beginning to challenge, as you say, and move up the order. And things do change here, don't they? I mean, the superiority of Supernova and Petrobras has been given something of a kick, if you like, from the side by Nordic Racing.
Most definitely, yeah. And it's very nice to see Nordic, you know, back at the front. They've spent a few years trying to get the budgets together, trying to get the team organised correctly. This year they've landed the Coca-Cola deal, and it's put them in good stead, really. I think they had some good testing early in the season before the first race. They've got a good handle on the car. They know what sort of changes they need to be making in qualifying to get the best out of the car. And obviously the drivers are performing well, and they're moving forwards with the encouragement from the team.
Well, back with the leaders after dwelling for an awful long time, thanks to our director, on Sébastien Bourdais, the highest placed Frenchman, as well you may expect. These pictures, of course, going all the way around the world. But you are privileged, my friends, to be watching this live here on Eurosport, as we have been for the entire championship. And quite a championship is turning out to be. 3 leading lights, however, and this man would put himself up to second place on the championship table should he go on to victory here. 10 points wouldn't go amiss at all, particularly for Derek Sears back in Norfolk.
No, definitely.
Oh dear, just hang on a minute. There we go. Yeah, we see this not only here, but even the Formula 1 boys, and even a certain Mr. Michael Schumacher has done exactly that on this circuit.
So easy to do that now.
Yes, Joel Camatias it was, taking a shortcut, but coming to no grief, thank goodness.
Well, the good thing about that there is I think that they've realised that the corner there is particularly difficult to get the car stopped sometimes, so they've got the nice green tarmac there, which allows you just to run across nice and smoothly, no gravel in the side pods, nothing to worry about. As long as you don't gain any position by it, then the race director normally lets you continue without any penalties.
Well, I would like to say that Mark Webber is going to be challenged pretty soon as the rest close down upon him, but he's extending his lead constantly. 4.7 seconds he now leads, so let's take a look further back. Patrick Friesacher, who knows this track very well indeed, a couple of years here at racing school, lived just round the corner, known as a local, but Darren Manning is getting on him, and here is the Adelaide hairpin, having a look.
Not close enough yet.
Not close enough.
He just needs to work it maybe for a couple more laps. He needs to be right under his wing halfway up that straight to be able to pull out and make a move.
And a difficult man to pass, particularly on a circuit with such knowledge. He knew just how to come out of that one, didn't he?
Without a doubt, yeah. I mean, if the guy in front keeps to the inside as you're going up to the corner, and then the guy behind them will normally pull probably to the left-hand side, to the outside of the corner, and cut back in to try and get the inside line on the exit. But if you're cute, then you can slow the car down at the apex and actually sort of stop their progress, and maybe even keep the car to the inside on the exit, which totally blocks the move that they're about to do on you. So there are ways around it.
So ways around, but whether anyone will be able to do anything about Mr. Webber at the time being, he is just getting better and better, it seems. Patrick Friesacher, well, he knows his business, as we've told you. Others, however, well, they have come unstuck here, although practice yesterday was, well, a modest affair, mainly because the gauntlet had been thrown down very early on by Enge, and he did have some gearbox problems later on, and managed to fix those and run the car in, quite literally, later on in the session. But nobody's going to get close, and Mark Webber just bided his time. He sent in a few flyers late on, but he just didn't need it in the end, did he?
No, not at all. I was just looking then at the lap times of the race on that last lap. That was quite interesting. I don't know if Mark had any traffic then, but he's gone about half a second slower than the previous lap, and the guys behind have actually now just got on the same level of the lap time as him, so I don't know if that's any changing point, or whether that was traffic in the way at all.
Well, he may well just be easing off just a tad, because he's been flying right from the start, and it is a twitchy circuit, isn't it? It's like a mirror, this surface.
Is, yeah. It's a very strange circuit. I mean, you do need to look after the tyres for sure, moving to the end of the race. I mean, you know, Mark's obviously he's built out the gap now. It's nearly 5 seconds, so he's going to be thinking about that, thinking about the rear tyres on the car. And then if he doesn't need to keep pushing, there's no need to extend it more than 5 seconds unless he gets any kind of problem. So he's looking quite comfortable at the moment there.
Nice little battle going on between Patrick Friesacher, Darren Manning and Sébastien Bourdais. We will be back after a very short break and tell you how this one pans out. Do stay with us again. It'll be short. Welcome back to Magny Cours, round 7 of the Formula 3000 Championship. We're just looking at positions 2 and 3 here. Tomáš Enge and Justin Wilson, and this man is way out in the lead. Mark Webber threw it down right from the very start, and he now has a lead of over 5 seconds from nearest man to him. Behind them, a group of 3 challenging each other, and led for the time being by Patrick Friesacher. He part of the Red Bull team. Along with him is Darren Manning and the Sébastien Bourdais, and local knowledge should certainly be helping him.
For sure, yeah. The Dams team, obviously being French, they should have a very good knowledge of this circuit. So I can remember from my past experience at Dams that the car always seemed to get better later in the race. So if that's the case now still, then I think Bourdais may be moving through the field.
Well, it'd be nice for them if they can get themselves some extra points. They've just picked up 7 points at 7th as well in the team standings for the time being. But other teams who are desperate to sort of get back on song here, probably first among them would be the Red Bull team.
Most definitely, you know, I mean, the points are so crucial at the moment with the Formula 3000, with the qualifying for next year's series as well. So every point counts, and the teams are incredibly keen to secure as many points, obviously, as they can throughout the season.
And you can see there the gap between the leader and this trio chasing for 4th place, now over 12 seconds. Quite disheartening, I suppose, as far as they're concerned, but they'll just be focusing on this particular battle. And a quick look there, a beautiful aerial around the Estoril curve, a nice high speed and very classical turn as they come up, driving to Gulf and then down towards the Adelaide hairpin. Very high speeds and some danger at the end of this.
It's a great corner, actually, that part of the circuit. You go past the pit straight into the first left-hander. It's completely flat in 5th gear. Quite not so much challenging into the first left where it's flat, but then as you're going into the next part for Estoril, that's where you bang the car down to 4th gear and just literally throw it into the corner and get back hard on the power as soon as you can. And the car's twitching around all over the road, but you're just driving the rear wheels for the maximum speed and just holding on, really.
So if it's possible to have fun in this race while you're so focused, that's where you have it.
For sure, yeah.
Right, well, here the chasing gang, and nice to stay with them as well. Darren Manning, excuse me, and a quick look at here. Friesacher, Manning and Bourdais. Webber still way out in front. Let's just get a check on him. He's 5.8 seconds clear of Enge for the time being. And victories for Mark Webber this season. The Classic at Monte Carlo and, of course, Imola as well. He's ready for another, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's looking like at the moment that he's going to as well. I mean, the last lap time there, he's just put in a 1 minute 30.7 compared to Tomáš Enge on a 31.1. So, you know, he's taken a good chunk out of him there again. So if he keeps that up, he's going to be, he's going to be pulling out a massive lead by the end of the race for sure.
Laps remaining, 19 of 36, around the 150 kilometre mark. They measure it up and tell you the laps just before the start. 36 today, 19 remaining, and well, sadly, something of a procession at the moment, at least as far as the top 3 are concerned, and this is the reason why. So comfortable and such a pleasant place to be, especially on a day like this. Perfect near conditions, and Mark Webber, look at that, 6.626 ahead of Tomáš Enge, and that's not just down to traffic, is it? No,
not at all. When you look at the car, the car is very well balanced. It seems to have a lot of grip coming from the tyres. The car's working well. It doesn't seem to have any particular problems. So, you know, he's looking in good shape there, really.
And the time difference between the leader and Wilson, 7.5 seconds. Wilson, well, he would never be accused of taking it easy, but a difficult job indeed when the 2 challengers that you most fear are directly in front of you. So, something of a light tussle, shall we say, between the Coca-Cola boys. They're not going to do anything stupid here, are they? These points that they would get for second and third will do them very nicely.
Yeah, you know, they've got to be careful because Mark Webber's out there in front. They're obviously challenging for the championship as well as Mark Webber, but they can't afford to lose any points for sure. I mean, they want to be out in front of Mark Webber to score maximum points, but more, you know, to get the third or second position is better than no points at all. So, you know, at the moment they're going to be pushing as hard as they can, but in the back of the mind they can't afford to go off, because that will give Mark Webber a massive advantage.
Friesacher still leading the challenge to those on the podium, but the gap, as you saw, over 7 seconds. Wilson came off at the Nürburgring. It was problems with his brakes, they finally found out. Went off twice, indeed, and something of a freak accident. Not accident, but freak occurrence. It was the, I understand it was the rotor bell inside the wheel that had actually fractured there. Nonetheless, he's managed to maintain his focus here, but he would have bemoaned the fact that he went off from a leading position or a challenging position at the Nürburgring, and it really is a mark of his discipline, isn't it, that he's holding himself back now.
Yeah, you just need, you know, every race you go to the circuit, you focus on every race which is coming up. It's a new race, you forget which has happened in the past, you just get on with the job. You know, you're a professional racing driver. The team expects you not to dwell on what's happening in the past. You just get in the car and basically go for it.
Well, this is where the second little race is taking place within the larger scheme of things, and don't mean to bemoan it by saying little, because these three lads, I should say, they really are throwing it down, aren't they? Friesacher's doing a great job of holding them off, and it shows what the Red Bull team can do when they get a bit of clear track in front of them. But Darren Manning would love to notch up that 4th place.
The problem with this circuit here now is that as you're going through the Estoril curve, because it's a high-speed corner, it leads onto a reasonably long straight up to the Adelaide corner where you can pass, but the problem is getting close enough onto that straight because of the quick corner through Estoril. The aerodynamics playing effect on the car, and it spoils your chances as you go up to the Adelaide corner. It is possible, but you just need to make sure that you get the car positioned correctly, maybe just slightly offset from the other car so that you get maximum effect onto the wings, which gives you that little bit more downforce, so you're able to get closer to the car in front, and then you can tow them down the straight. But to be able to position the car like that, it takes maybe a couple of laps to figure out where you need to be, and sometimes, you know, it's just so difficult to actually get there.
Yeah, getting the balance between clean and dirty air on such a twisty curve as that, you know, difficult. Anyway, here we come up to another of these little rises. It's certainly not a billiard table, this, and all the more interesting for that. Bourdais having a nice little look.
Yeah, it looks to me that maybe Darren's struggling a little bit with the tyres. On the lap before, as he was going for Estoril, it looked like he ran a little bit wide, and Bourdais closed in, and again on that last corner. Just seemed to be losing a little bit on the exit with the rear tyres going off maybe a little bit, and it looks like Bourdais is able to challenge.
How difficult is it for you to actually keep your eye on your own braking distances and not just follow the leader, as it were, the man directly in front of you? It must be tempting, and that way you can take yourself and him off.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you just concentrate on what you're doing. You know, he's going to be looking in his mirrors probably as much as he's looking in front at the moment with Bourdais challenging there, because he's not going to want them. He looked like he had a bit of oversteer
then. Wilson let him get away with it. Yeah, as you say, I think the distance again between them just not quite there. No. You get the feeling that Wilson is he's not going to start pushing this at all, is he? I mean, of course he is, and we're not saying he's backing off, but the last thing he wants to do is disturb the concentration of his teammate in front of him.
No, I mean, personally, if it was me, I would try and get maybe a little bit closer to pressurise Tomáš Enge a little bit more, which would then allow him, it would make him possibly make a few more mistakes, and then you could sneak through. So he's giving him a little bit of an easy time at the moment.
Well, let's just say it stays like this. Webber, in fact, would go to the top of the standings. Excuse me, my mathematics from earlier on. And Enge, who's on 28 points, would pick up the 6th for second, and the difference between himself and Wilson would certainly be narrowed.
Looks like Wilson, he's trying to move the car around a little bit just to show into the mirrors of Enge there. You know, it could be that he's just not quite fast enough to get onto the rear wing when it involves the extra loss of downforce when he gets close through like the corners at Estoril. So just needs to try and get his head down and try and get onto that rear wing.
And Friesacher closing a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows you perhaps their mind's not absolutely on it, and the others are catching. Stay with us. We'll be back at Magny Cours after this short break. Welcome back, and Mark Webber still leads, and leads by a handsome margin ahead of Tomáš Enge, 7.9 seconds to be precise. Enge and Wilson almost locked together, and both looking at each other very, very closely, and we get the feeling that Enge's tyres perhaps not the best. Did he do any damage at the start? He certainly did cook him a bit.
There's possibility that he's overworked the tyres maybe earlier in the race, and he's feeling the effect of that now. There could also be a possibility. I noticed when he had the oversteer at Adelaide earlier on in the race, it could be that maybe he's having a slight gearbox problem on the down change, and it's locking the rear wheels up. It sometimes happens with these cars, and it just takes the edge off the lap time.
He did have that in the second qualifying session. Got stuck in third. Oh, look at this.
It could be what it is.
Well, the last thing they want to do is damage each other, but Wilson is capable, to say the very least, of going past Enge. And if Enge's tyres are on the wane, I'm not saying he's going to flag him through, but certainly Wilson looks like he's showing him that he's perhaps a little bit more competitive, and it might be an idea to team-wise to let him go.
Possibly, yeah, but I don't think that will happen because they're both fighting for the championship, you know, and they're both their own guys. They've both got aspirations in motorsport, obviously. Still, it's not Formula One, so. You know, I don't think that any team orders are going to come into it. You know, they're obviously told not to take each other off, but other than that, it's a fight for themselves. But Justin for sure is going to want to get through. I think if he was on his own and he had clean air, then he could run quicker than Enge at the moment. But it's just with Enge's turbulence coming off of the rear wing, it's just affecting Justin's car slightly, and he's just not able at the moment to get close enough to be able to get in that position to make a move.
Well, certainly having a look, but as you say, just keeping it clean as far as his own air is concerned. And at the front, Mark Webber in a very, very comfortable position, and Supernova will be absolutely delighted with that. The Nordic Racing team, well, they've been historically a middling team, but things have really, really turned around for them this season. They've got the money, they've got the sponsors, and they've got the drivers as well.
Yeah, as I said before, Nordic deserve it as well. You know, I mean, he's having problems stopping the car. I'm sure he's possibly got a problem on the down change on the car. Maybe it's just a slightly notchy fork in the gear change, and it's not snicking into the second gear properly.
Oh, Bourdais having a quick one as well. A little moment, nothing too serious, drifting a little bit wide, but these three concerteering as well and constantly expanding. It seems that the positions are more or less locked, and into the pits comes Dino Morelli, the man who replaced Amanda Mikkola. An experienced man, Dino, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, he's been in Formula 3000 on and off since 1997. He was racing back when I started my rookie season in Formula 3000. A quick driver, possibly never had the right opportunities. Had a dreadful accident at the Nürburgring in '97, injured both his legs, which was in the wet race. Completely, the car jammed in full throttle after making contact with another car on the pit straight, and it chopped the nose off and kept it full throttle down the straight and straight into the first corner into the wall. So very nasty, and it's nice to see him back in the car again.
Yeah, he knows what bruises are, and so do some of these boys. It's smooth so far today, thank goodness, and a right little battle going on here. And Darren Manning holding off the attentions of Sébastien Bourdais in the Black Dam car here. And just ahead of those is Patrick Friesacher, who's done well to not only in qualifying but also here. It's just that those the leading three at the moment really are going away with it. And if you get the feeling that if it wasn't for Enge's problems, Wilson would have gone, and perhaps they would be dueling with Enge for that podium place.
Yeah, I think that Enge's certainly got some kind of little problem there. Not drastically serious, but just affecting the lap time. Maybe 1 or 2 tenths on the lap time. It's costing him, and it definitely looks like he's struggling to stop the car sometimes going into the Adelaide hairpin and into possibly other corners on the circuit as well. So that kind of problem, it doesn't happen every lap. So the problem with that is you don't know when it's going to happen, and it can catch you out, which then can put you off into the gravel. So you have to be a little bit cautious on stopping the car and on the down change, and try and keep it as smooth as possible, just so that you don't lock those rear wheels.
Well, we saw Gabriel Lancieri coming in. It looked like a time penalty. Goodness only what knows what for. Probably insulting behaviour, who knows. Yeah, frustration perhaps creeping in at the back of the grid. The race, well, it's two little ones, it has to be said, at the front for the top 3 places. Although Mark Webber would say, excuse me, mate, I've put over 8 seconds between myself and Enge. So the difference between Enge and Wilson, as you can see, not much at all, although it has drifted out a little bit. Behind them, the scrap going on for 4th place, and it's led by, for 4th place, Friesacher ahead of Manning and Bourdais, and that, I think, is where we'll see any changes if it comes in the top 6.
Yeah, most definitely. Bourdais looks like he's still pressurising Manning a little bit there, trying to get through.
Definitely fancies it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And again, with Wilson here, he just needs to just try and get that little bit closer, and then I think he can make a move to challenge. I'm sure he could go slightly quicker if he could just get in front, but doing that is not easy.
Yes, and of course Derek and Chris Moore will be looking at this rather anxiously, just to make sure that these boys don't do anything foolish, because as far as they're concerned, it would be a shame to take it away. But Justin Wilson, you can imagine his frustration.
For sure. He wants to win this championship this year as much as obviously the other 2 as well in front of him. But you know, it would be nice to see an English guy win it, and you know, he just needs to try and push now as hard as he can, maybe put Thomas under a little bit of pressure. And just see if he can make a mistake, especially if he has got a slight problem.
So this then, once again, the battle for 4th place, and some great fending work from Darren Manning. Well, all these cars, the similar sort of chassis, you do have some areas where you can manoeuvre and make changes, but with 9 laps remaining, as you can see, it's a series that's supposed to reward good driving. Preparation for Formula 1, that's why we're at Magny Cours this weekend. We've been following the Grand Prix circuit in Europe. But, oh dear, let's have a look. Well, both taking a wee trip. It looked like the number 5 of Dino Morelli was indeed.
He's lucky there.
He certainly was. The pair of them fortunate to get away with that.
Well,
and Baumgartner it was.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there actually. It looked like Dino went into the corner behind and came out in front, so I don't know whether, because they both went off, whether one of them will lose a position on that or not, I don't know.
Well, they both wanted to go straight forward, and then were both busy trying to avoid each other, but a similar mistake from the pair of them, I think. Probably
a classic scenario that they're both looking at each other for whoever breaks first, and none of them break.
Done it myself. Yeah, well, anyway, £800,000 is what it'll cost you if you fancy having a team here. And believe me, that's peanuts compared to Formula 1. And as a result, it means that costs are kept low in order to maintain this championship. Yes, that is a low cost, believe it or not, in motorsport. And as a result, it means that machinery is more or less similar. But there are teams, as ever, that are in the upper class of any little society, and this particular driving club at the moment is being led by Mark Webber, and finally starting to have some traffic to contend with.
Yeah, the biggest thing with these cars is the engineer in the team. He is the key to the success really with these cars. You must have a good engineer to be able to get the best out of the chassis. Because they're one-make formula, you have to push everything to the limit, and you know, every single little detail on the car makes a difference, because you know, you have to find the time from somewhere. So you know, the attention to detail is crucial, and you know, I think the lead teams, they do that better than the others.
Yes, well, Andy Roach and Rod Cresswell at Supernova will be happy with this weekend's work.
Without a doubt, yeah. What a great result, you know. I mean, to be 8 seconds in front. Oh, we got somebody off here.
Yes, we have. It's Bas Leinders, the man who started to show some promise this season. 2 second places, although one of those was in a decimated field, of which we've seen, but thankfully not today. Leinders static. It looks like he's taken the spin.
Yeah, he's beached there as well, so I think that's going to be the end of the day unless he can get a push. Now he's out of the car.
Oh, he's still trying for a push, or unless he's just picking up his fags before he heads off. And we can take a look at it as well.
Just lost the rear.
Yep, round he went.
just the tyres going off on the rear, just lost the grip, and around it went.
Thankfully taking nobody else with him, but his day appears to be over. So with the number 15 car of Darren Manning, and being challenged at the moment by Sébastien Bourdais. Now, these two really have been having a fight, the fight of the day, perhaps. And as you can see, the gap between themselves and Patrick Friesacher, who is in something of a comfort zone, it has to be said. He's too far away to challenge anybody, and he's just keeping enough distance between himself and these two scrappers.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Manning and Bourdais, I would say, are definitely holding each other up a little bit, which is giving Friesacher a little bit of room to move.
Nice to be in a comfort zone in such a place. So coming together once again here at Magny Cours, and Manning and Bourdais doesn't really mean much, those timings, but 29 laps have been completed of the 36, and it's Mark Webber that looks like he's heading for victory. Nicer fella it couldn't happen to as well. Mark Webber, straight talking Aussie. When it goes wrong, he says if it was his fault, he just puts his hand up and said it was my fault, which is very pleasant in this at this altitude of the sport.
Yeah, it's good to be honest with it. You know, it's honest with yourself. If you've made a mistake, it's nice just to be able to put your hand up, admit you made a mistake, and then get on with the job. Put it behind you and learn from the mistake, but forget about it in the same term. So Mark's good at doing that.
Certainly is. Justin Wilson, once again, Enge putting a decent amount of space between himself and his teammate as we come down to the hairpin. And
you just see it every lap there. He just loses the downforce as he goes through the estuarial corner, which then he's not able to get close enough onto the straight to be able to make a move in Adelaide. It's a shame, really, because I'm sure that Enge has got a slight problem there on the brake, and he keeps missing the apexes quite frequently there. So, you know, it could be that Justin is just putting a little bit of pressure on there, and maybe Enger's feeling it. It's Mario Haberfeld making another mistake, I think.
Poor old Mario. He just needs to be able to forget about damaging the car and get on with it. Look at this. Well, for just a moment there, I couldn't quite see their helmets. He certainly is. Has he got him? He's gone down the inside and finally taking him. Oh, no. Well, it certainly looked, we've got foreshortening on the camera there, and I thought he'd got him.
It looked close. He's locking the wheels up going into the corners, Enge, and Justin was just able to get close there. Just couldn't quite get on the power strong enough though on the exit to be able to make the move. To be honest, it would have probably been a bit tight going down to the next corner anyway. Yes,
and tight can mean tragic very quickly indeed. The two words found very close together in the dictionary. And he's having another go, isn't he?
Definitely making a difference by Justin, just putting a bit of pressure on him now. You see that Enger's car is moving around a lot more than Justin's, so it could be the tyres.
Yeah, it certainly looks steadier. 5 laps to go then, and if he's going to make a move, it's going to have to be fairly shortly. He's able to close up. Yeah, he is. Can he? No.
He needs to make a move really going into the corner. He's going to struggle getting him on the exit unless Enge makes a drastic mistake like missing the gear or something, which is possible with a sequential gearbox, but not very common.
And the long lazy straights that come down to these corners, it makes it more difficult, doesn't it, because the gap just widens suddenly.
That's right.
Enger's able to chuck it down, and then Wilson just can't find his way, just can't get back on him in time. Mind you, he seems to be trimming a bit here.
Yeah, it's the nature of this circuit. It is incredibly difficult to pass. As long as the guy in front just keeps it smooth, doesn't make any mistakes, then it is incredibly tough, but Justin's having a good go.
He certainly is all over him at the moment. Enge, though, nice and experienced, and having a look once again.
He's so close that it goes through the chicane and then onto the pit straight, and then he loses it all again as he goes for estuarial because of the lack of downforce.
And indeed, a little twitch there, taking it wide, cutting in.
Yeah, he's just trying to get a little bit more traction on the exit of the corner to try and make a move down to this corner, because he knows that he's losing it. Then as he goes through estuarial, he loses it because of the downforce.
And the gap between them, well, it doesn't really mean a great deal. It's constantly changing that, but tight indeed.
Yeah.
And coming around the long loop in the western part of this circuit, up the rise, and just how close can he get to him? Got a bit of traffic perhaps, which may cause them, no, far too far ahead.
Yeah,
coming down now, but again too far off.
Yeah, without a doubt, he needs to be closer than that.
Did you see that?
He's rocking the wheel there every lap. I don't know what the problem is there. I mean, if it's just the front bias, too much on the front brakes, then just give it a handful to the rear, and that'll cure that problem. But I think it's maybe something slightly different than that.
Well, they've had their brake difficulties. Justin Wilson himself, that was the reason why he went out. The bell housing around one of the front brakes was giving out. Maybe it's the rears this time that's giving problems to Enge. Just don't know. So these two stuck together in a... Oh,
he's looking.
He certainly is. He's having a damn good look. And it could well be with the laps running out, so he's run out of time. So 4 laps to go, and if Wilson's going to make his move, he's going to have to make it very, very quickly. The P1 position gets shown to Webber. Webber has completely dominated this race, and while Enge has been fending off Wilson, his lead has been a comfortable one and expanding. Once again, Wilson having a look, taking it wide, getting clean air, and the drive, and look how tight they are now off the back of that.
You just see the slightly different line that Justin's. He's just slightly inside there on the corner. That's just to get a little bit more downforce onto the wings, to get a little bit more cleaner air, and that'll help him stay closer then going up to the Adelaide hairpin.
Yeah, that's not our leader that they're just overtaking, sadly. It's sadly for the drama, I mean. Not sadly.
He's a little bit closer this lap.
He certainly is. He's
still not enough though.
He's got the run, but as again, not enough. Let's see that wheel. Does it lock? No, it's not this time. He was able to take it a bit slower.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting. He's certainly mapped out his strategy, hasn't he?
Without a doubt, but the problem is now that Enger's cute on it. You know, he knows that he's lacking a little bit there, so he's going to know that Justin possibly could make a move there with the last couple of laps of the race. So he may well have blown that opportunity now to surprise him, and Enge will be ready and be able to close the door.
Yes, and there's very little room for manoeuvre as far as strategy is concerned. We know that the Adelaide hairpin is the place, so does everybody, so no surprises there, but it's how you take it, how you build up to it, and goodness me, getting a little bit loose just in then.
Yeah, he seems quite quick through that part of the corner of the circuit though. He seems to close in a lot there on Enge, and holds that all the way to the pit straight.
With our leader then, Mark Webber. He's got a 9.7 second lead, and with only 3 laps remaining, time running out, 2 indeed as he crosses the line. And once again, it's almost a replay, isn't it? Just how close are they coming round though?
That's right. I think that Justin's got his work cut out really to make a move on Enge, unless he really does make a mess of a corner and goes wide. You know, he's going to have to think of the point situation as well. He can't afford to go off, but in the back of his mind, second position would still be better than third.
And Enge more than used to fending people off with his fast experience and his Porsche experience as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, if he just protects his corner, he keeps the car in the right place, then that's going to make it incredibly difficult for Justin.
Yeah, and they don't want to come together in this one at such a late stage. So the race order after 34 laps, it's the majestic Mr. Webber ahead of Thomas Enge and Justin Wilson. Friesacher still holding off the attention of Darren Manning, who's had a great race. Sébastien Bourdais, the highest place Frenchman. They the top 6, and the rest are playing catch-up. Cochet had a decent start and is currently finding himself in 11th. And as we go further back, Derek Hill, well, he's been off the pace for some time, and not really making much of an impression this time around in the Dams car. Sébastien Bourdais, when you know they've got the same machinery, it must be a little bit hard. It's the same story for Mario Haberfeld, and but these two, well, you can see, extremely well matched.
Yeah, you know, they're having a great little battle. I think they're enjoying themselves out there, but you know, in the same...
Oh, dear, dear, dear.
Lost a bit of traction there on the gravel.
1 lap remaining, and he nearly nicked it, didn't he? Goodness me. Well, he'll be angry with himself, but probably, you know, it's a wake-up call as well. Round the long curve, Webber heading for the flag, but these two, well, still tussling. But the gap, it seems, well, it's expanded now. I think they've settled places, haven't they?
Yeah, it looks difficult for Justin to make a move. The other problem may be that they've got the gearing on the car for the 5th gear. That he's got him. He's got him. He's straight
through, and Enge just drifting out, losing it. It was exactly the same, wasn't it? Fantastic stuff. Justin Wilson just spotting the gap.
Handed on a plate.
Absolutely on a plate. Now Enge just needs to stay in control mentally as our leader and race winner comes around. Mark Webber. He's had an absolutely superior drive, but what drama right at the very death here at Nordic Racing. A real battle, finally. I wasn't expecting it at all.
Not me, no. I mean, you know, for the last lap for him to make a mistake like that, he should have just taken it a little bit easier on the brakes. So, Justin wasn't in a position to make a move. He just slowed the car down a little bit easier, just get the corner, and he would have cruised home to second position, but it's not to be.
Punching the air, Mark Webber, fabulous victory. And guess what? He takes the lead in the championship. He's now on 38 points, leapfrogging Wilson. Those 10 points, fantastic for him, and indeed for the boys back at Supernova Racing. He more than delighted, and I imagine that Wilson is happy with himself as well, because he's now, although in second place, only a point adrift, and it would have been an awful lot worse than that had Tomáš Enge managed to hold on.
Yeah, I'd imagine Justin's actually, he can't believe his luck. His year seems to be going well for him at the moment. He's got that luck behind him, and you know, that's what you need for a successful championship.
Certainly is. Mark Webber, 3 victories for him. He will go at the top of the standings, and really for his team it's great news.
Yeah, you know, they work very hard. David Sears runs a very good team there. They have a good handle on the car. They know what they need for each circuit to get the best out of the car. They know how to get the best out of the drivers, and it's a deserved win. Super
run, and one wonders if Wilson hadn't just got that manoeuvre out of the way earlier on, whether or not he would have been challenging for victory there.
Yeah, I think it was more on Enge's part than Justin's. He's just had, again, another problem on just stopping the car for that corner. I don't know what's going on there, but it wouldn't surprise me if there is just a slightly notchy gearbox as it's going down the gear, or if the rear tyres have gone off and he can't quite stop it in time for the corner.
Well, the change around in qualifying yesterday when he was stuck in third gear, maybe it was just a ratio that they changed instead of the whole box.
Yeah,
and he's having similar trouble. You know, one new cog against another series that are, you know, okay.
It's possible. I doubt it, but you know, but it is possible that something could happen there. Maybe something slightly moved on the selector, but it did look like that he definitely could have some kind of problem.
Well. Let's have a look at the mathematics of all of this, and a brief apology from me. And that is, Webber came into this race with 26 points, and he now moves up to 36. Justin Wilson came into this race with 31 points and picks up 6, which gives him 37. So there we are, today's race classification, and lo and behold, Coca-Cola will be more than relieved, as I am, to have finally got my mathematics sorted out. Well, such a move at the end there, I could hardly keep my pen still. You can't blame me. But what a great race it turned out to be between the teammates at Coca-Cola Nordic Racing. Wilson has taken it and moved himself even closer up at the top of the overall classification. Yes, looking further down, some great battles going on throughout the field. The top 6 places, though, was really where all the action was happening.
Yeah, I mean, incredibly close. Just great racing, really.
Fantastic stuff here at Magny Cours. So Justin Wilson picks himself up 6 points and takes himself to 37 in the table. Mark Webber exactly what he needed, a full 10 points, moving him to 36, just a point behind Wilson. Enge, well, he gets 4, and that puts him on 32 in third place now. So dropping down a place, it really was a costly mistake of his.
Very costly, especially on the last lap. You know, that's not really the sort of thing you need to be doing. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he did have a problem. But even so, he seemed to know that if that was the case, that he had a problem for a few laps, so should have just been a little bit maybe more careful, and he'd have been second on the podium.
I used to do that on my bicycle, you know, and I fell off a few times. 2 hands off the steering wheel, presumably his knees in action underneath. Fantastic stuff, and a great race as far as Webber was concerned. Something of a procession, although not quite as bad as the Nürburgring.
No, a possession, but a close possession.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
You know, it was still good viewing.
And certainly a dramatic end to this race for positions 2 and 3, swapping over amongst the teammates, and hard to blame Tomáš Enge for a mistake, because realistically it looked like he had a mechanical problem for a long time before that.
It did look like that there was something playing up there, but even so, Justin was piling on the pressure. He was pushing really hard. He was very close on the last few laps, and that could have contributed to the problem.
And there, confirmation of the Drivers' Championship. Wilson still leads, but by only just the 1 point. Webber now closing on 36 points. Then gives Tomáš Enge on 32, and it really does seem to be between those three now.
Yeah, it's incredibly close. I'd imagine Justin would be very happy. 1 point as it is, a lead is a lead, so he goes away leading the championship, and it can't be better than that.
And he will be celebrating, opening a few tins of pop tonight, I should think. And why not, indeed? Well, some great names wandering around the circuit here. The great and the good of motorsports have been in attendance, and they've enjoyed what has been a fabulous day's racing here.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it was just a great race, and what a great finish.
Fantastic stuff. Friesacher coming home in 4th ahead of Manning. Then came Bourdais. They really scrapped right the way through. Then it was Haberfeld and Pantano, followed by Saelens, I beg your pardon, Pizzonia and Cochet. And time to have a little think and try and relax those neck muscles. Quick look at the start again. It was a great start from Enge initially, but Webber was equal to him very, very quickly indeed.
Yeah, Webber made the challenge at the first corner, managed to just get around the outside going into the grand curve, and from then on never looked back.
Well, a bit of action into the gravel, particularly from the number 18 Red Bull car of Riccardo Maurizio, who Helmut Marko has been busy sparing a few words for even in the official press releases, I can tell you. Onto the podium, and Mark Webber triumphant.
Looking very pleased with himself.
And we'll listen to Australia's national anthem. Victory then, as you've heard, for Mark Webber, and a huge sigh of relief during the anthem there from Justin Wilson. He filled his lungs, didn't he, and breathed out. Unbelievable.
He must be happy with that one for sure.
He must be, but strange enough, it's Tomáš Enge who looks nice and relaxed. I think he was actually just extremely pleased to have held his teammate off for so long in regarding the troubles that he's had. So a little trophy there, 2nd place for Justin Wilson, the championship leader still, but only by 1 point. The emotions running high, I'm sure, for him.
Yeah, for sure. What a great position to be in, you know. I mean, there's not many people who British guys lead the Formula 3000 Championship at this stage, and, you know, good luck to them.
Good luck indeed, and indeed to this trio. These will be the ones that battle it out as we head into the rest of the season. It's to Silverstone for the International there on July the 14th. We will, of course, be live for that, and a real scrap you can expect between these three. Just giving him plenty of punishment. Enge's such a nice chap. There's a great atmosphere within Coca-Cola Nordic Racing. They deserve everything they get, but so does this man, Mark Webber. Supernova have been playing catch-up for a few rounds so far, as have their sister team, the Petrobras Junior outfit, and they will be absolutely delighted to find themselves top of the podium. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy either. Mark Webber, dominant throughout this race. He led almost from the very first, starting off on the front row alongside Tomáš Enge. Enge with his own mechanical problems. That's fabulous, fabulous racing, it certainly was. From me, Carlton Kirby, and Jamie Davis, it's a fond farewell. Last word from you, Jamie. Great racing today.
For sure, yeah. Just a very close race, and you know, looked great to watch. And Mark Webber just very successful there with a big lead at the finish. Great.
Magny Cours has seen a real tussle. All right, maybe not involving the leader, but those places were always up for grabs, and podium places were switched right at the death. It's what close racing is all about. We'll see you next time. From me, Carlton Kirby, and Jamie Davis alongside me. It's bye-bye from Magny Cours.